It's all about your mindset. Now, I'm not gonna be like one of those self-help people that are like, oh, you know, it's your fault. You're so weak. You're mentally weak. If you're sad, you need to fix yourself. Get yourself up. Do this, do that. I think that's false. What I do think is true though is like, at least for me, like this always when I'm saying stuff, like I'm the only person I can make an accurate judgment about, right? Because I know how I work to a reasonable degree, at least. And so, like, what works for me may not work for everyone. But I'm just sharing my advice. So, like, my experience, which you can interpret as advice any way you want, if you choose to do so. In my experience, like, whenever I get super sad or thrown into a really, like, sometimes I just get thrown into absolute insanely bad state of mind. Like, remember the videos I used to make where I talk about how my thoughts were so bad that I would think about how my thinking was so bad and in turn get mad at myself for thinking such bad. Like, they were layered upon itself, bad thoughts. And it was just a knot that couldn't be untangled, right? Well, that's what happened last night. After I made that video, I don't even remember, about people watching. I somehow just got really nostalgic and started looking back at just high school and everything, and I got like sad and triggered a whole episode. I guess I'll just start calling it episode. I don't know what type of episode it is, but it's a very spiral, just like a breakdown kind of almost. And what I realized is like, I think increasingly in the future, what I should realize is these breakdowns will happen, right? No matter how hard I try to keep bad thoughts out of my mind, to be consistent in, it's like kind of mental hygiene, right? Not letting myself get stuck in the loops. And because it's very possible, like while you feel like you don't have that much agency over your own thoughts, you do have like certain broad control, right? You can make yourself think slightly more positively. You can make yourself, like, if you try, right? If I tried hard enough, I could be the happiest person I want to. Is that healthy for me? No. You can't constantly be trying, because it is really tiring to constantly try that. But it's also, you have to realize, or I have to realize, that when I get caught in the spiral, I have to separate that. That is not what I truly feel. That is just a spiral in a certain direction. Because what I felt before, or a lot of times, is that like negativity is truly what I felt, right? And anything positive I felt is a mask above that. Like at my lowest low, that is what I think. But I don't think that's true. Like even when I'm just like okay and like not happy, not sad, like when I thought back to those moments, I was like, oh yeah, I was just trying to hide all that negativity inside me. But I think that's a really bad way of thinking about it, because it predisposes you to be negative. You're assuming that your true inner core, your entire self, is just purely negative and bad, right? So instead, I think it's just, that is a episode that can happen to me. I can go into those thoughts, but that's not the true inner thoughts I have. And once I make that distinction, it becomes much easier to have control of my own mindset, take accountability of my own mindset, because it's really easy to say that's just how I am, right? I'm tired of covering it up. But that's not true. That's not what I am. And I do hold a certain responsibility, and everyone requires a certain amount of effort to not think about the things that make them sad. Because everyone has things that make them sad. Everyone can make themselves sad if they really tried, I think. The problem with me is I've developed a habit of implicitly letting it happen to me, of naturally letting myself, like, it naturally pulls me there. But that doesn't mean that's what's, like, true, I think, like, I've gotten too in over my head about being true to myself. Like, oh, I need to feel the full extent of what I'm feeling. I need to interpret exactly what's going on in my head. But at the same time, through that, it's just gotten to a point where I almost misinterpreted what is to be true, and misinterpreted the saddest things, the deepest, saddest parts of me to be the true parts of me. Or the deepest, not, okay, I'll rephrase that to be the saddest parts of me to be the deepest parts of me, which is not necessarily true, if that makes sense. And so it is really about your mindset. Like, today just taught me that, right? Like, even in the morning, I was so bedridden. I skipped my classes. I was like, okay, it's over. My period of productivity in college is over. But now today, I'm just like, especially after I went on a run, that like capped it off really. Actually, honestly, just singing with my acapella group makes me really happy. But like, it's just like, wait, it's okay, Like, yesterday night was a episode. It's not a, and it will happen again. I don't doubt it will. I will have a breakdown, and I can't beat myself up over it, because sure, before I didn't have these, but before I also didn't experience all these things and didn't have, I wasn't the person I am. You can't compare yourself to your past self, right? And so it's okay that I kind of slipped up last night in terms of my thinking, but I just have to not give up. You know, one slip up, you can't give up. That's it. You really can't. Sure, like being a lot of times, I think, look, what I'll say is being happy is not that hard. I think it is kind of hard. It is hard, actually. Like, a lot of times you have a lot of stuff there is to be sad about, and maybe you naturally want to be sad because of all the sad stuff, but you can be happy if you really, really want to. And that was something I really believed before. And honestly, that was probably because I had less things to worry about. I was genuinely happier. And so I did believe that, okay, whatever's bothering you, you know, remember my old videos? If you do, they're all very like, oh, whatever you're going through, you know, you can be happy. But now I'm just so defeated, you know? Even yesterday night, I was thinking to myself, yeah, like, what do I do? You know? And the answer is, you can make yourself be happy. And it's not fake to do so. You just have to do it in the right way. And it's a precise balance of, like, not deluding yourself and not ignoring your problems, but also being okay with your problems, right? It's a very delicate balance there. But this brings me to another point of why I honestly think, like, you need to be cautious when I honestly consider looking for a therapist, and I probably still will, but I just need to always be cautious. And I think I urge you all to be very cautious of the mentality that, oh, the therapist will fix everything for me, right? The responsibility doesn't fall on me, you know? The therapist will help me be happy. But no, that's not true. And as much as I say this, therapist is only there. It's like a professional therapist, like a physical therapist. If you get injured, right, and you're trying to heal your thing, if you could go to a professional therapist, they're going to give you exercise. They're going to give you tips and stuff to help you heal faster. But you still have to be one to put in the effort and put in the hardship of doing the exercise and strengthening your muscle again. Except in this time, you're kind of strengthening your muscle to not be sad, you know? And so, yeah. Like, if you guys are going through anything similar like me, of being really, really sad, I don't know if it may be borderline depressed. Like, just remember, it is all about the mindset. And it's okay to have days where you feel like it's futile, you know? I get into these loops. Oh shoot, I'm stuck in a loop. I still remember this really good strategy I heard from somewhere on Instagram Reels, I think. And it was like, when you're trying to make a habit, like, cut yourself slack. Like, don't cut yourself slack, but just, like, don't beat yourself too much if you miss one day, but make sure you don't miss a second day, right? And I think this philosophy applies here. It's okay to be sad for a day, but once that becomes a pattern, you become sad for another day, that's when it gets bad. Like, I think that's something I need to keep in mind for the future. No matter how, like, it's okay. Like, it'll happen. I get triggered by something and I fall into a big spiral. And I need to be okay with that, because I think that's just how I am now, right? I am pretty sensitive and I am easily triggered. As much as I don't like that, I'm going to have to deal with it because that's how I am now, right? And I can try and change it, but, like, it's hard to just be like, oh, don't get triggered when you actually are just, like, I don't even know what I mean by triggered, but, like, don't, like, it's hard to just tell yourself, like, control yourself when in the moment your emotions are rising and cycling up, you know? Like, once the engines of negativity get revving, it's really hard to stop sometimes. But once you've calmed down, like the next day, or you've taken a couple deep breaths, you've gone for a run, and you realize, like, okay, it's maybe not that bad, you have to get back on track. And that's where I'm at now. Like, I think last night I really just got a bit overwhelmed with, like, everything that's going on. There's too many thoughts going in my head. And I really needed a break. And I think I need to, number one, be better at taking those breaks. Number two, be okay with taking those breaks. And I think that break can just be like meditation, honestly, or something like that. And just number three, make sure I recover, as in I go back to a state of putting in conscious effort, of not being bedridden, of not being couch potato, of not being depressed, you know? Like, and it's not, like, how I like to view it, and maybe this is, honestly, maybe I qualify myself too much, but, like, maybe this is false, but how I want to view it is that, like, I think I've said this before, honestly, or maybe I've heard this from someone else. Like, my muscles for being happy have been atrophied, in a way, right? And so while, like, if your muscles for being happy are good, it's really easy. They just keep themselves in shape, honestly. But if they're not, it's kind of hard to train them up again. And it's just like the gym, honestly. There's days you want to be lazy, you want to be sad. Maybe that's your predisposition. That's your predisposition, right? Your predisposition to be fat and lazy. Oh, okay. So that came out really aggressive, and that's like being sad. But you can do something about it by working out, by trying to fight that, right? And it's okay to have rest days. You can't always be happy. You know, your happiness muscles can't always be flexing. And so yeah, you just work on it day by day, take it a day at a time, and you'll be fine. It's okay to have rest days. It's okay to mess up. Yeah, I think that's honestly one of the most cohesive, like, combat plans I have devised. Even more nuanced and like taking into account small things than my initial one I made before college. And I'm really like that. So yeah. Like, that's a really strange way of thinking about it, though. Being happy is like going to the gym. It's like sets of being happy, you know? But I think that's fine, honestly. And it's not like, oh, the goal is to achieve like full happiness. Even when you're like really buff and fit, you still have to take rest days. You still have to allow yourself to feel emotions and be sad. But there's a distinction, as I've always said, of being sad about things that are actually sad and allowing yourself to be sad about those, and then getting caught in the cycle of negativity. Those are very two different things, right? One is self-generating sadness, other is allowing yourself to feel emotions. But I have to separate allowing myself to feel emotions and allowing myself to cycle, because those are two very different things. And I honestly think I should have figured this out sooner. Like, the problem was honestly, I was too egoistical. I can talk about in this other video maybe and elaborate a bit. Of me being able to feel such deep emotions that I stopped recognizing where I was feeling my genuine emotions and where I was making stuff up. Does that make sense? So yeah, this video has run really long, but I hope you guys can get something out of it. And in the end, it is really all about your mindset. You control the right. You have fully the right to be happy, right? Sure. Like, I don't think it's good, productive in any way. Maybe it's true. There's nothing really too objective about yourself. You yourself is a very subjective concept in how you choose to view yourself and how others choose to view you. It's just a very subjective concept. No. Like, in itself, like, the concept of you is so nebulous. I've said this many times, but so, like, there's no your true feelings. And, like, you control it. You can kind of control it, at least. You can guide it very much so. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you all for watching. Just don't let yourself get in your head sometimes, and just take a step back and, you know, take a breather. Anyways, that's all I really have to say. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.